G. Willikers here with another tale of youth. So my father was a real car enthusiast. He loved to work on cars. Back in those days it was easy enough to do. Cars were all mechanical or electrical, no computers. All you needed was a good set of wrenches and you could do most anything. You could change the shocks, you could change the points and plugs, you could adjust the distributor. In fact, you usually had to quite a few times. You could adjust the carburetors. You could do just about anything, and you often had to. So one day, my father said, let's go get you a car. Went down to a used car dealership and found a 56 Chevy. Now, this was the year 1966. And at that time, if you were a young kid like me, the best kind of car in the world to have, unless your parents were rich and bought you a GTO, the best possible kind of car was a 1956 Chevy or a 1957 Chevy. So he found one. But just about like this, only it was turquoise. Beautiful car. I was thrilled. Cost him $100. And whoever had the car before had taken out the standard 265 cubic inch engine and put in a 283 cubic inch engine, which normally would have gone to a newer and more powerful car. So I was thrilled to pieces with that. And we went out for a little drive and he popped the clutch and the tire screamed and he said, okay, the clutch is good, let's buy it. And that became my car. So in those days, a standard transmission was called 3 on the tree. You had 3 forward gears and they were on the steering column. The shifter was. Kids didn't like that. We would disconnect that, take that thing off completely, and put in a gear shift that went right down to the transmission, which was in the middle of the floor. That meant you had an open hole there. You could see the pavement going by. And oftentimes, the cotter pins that were holding the shifter in place would fall out in the middle of the night. And I would be scrambling underneath the car in the dark, looking for that so I could keep on driving. Also in those days, kids wanted to know that their cars were fast. And so what they would do, since in those days a tachometer inside the car was not typical like it is now, so they would buy these big chrome ones and mount that on the dash. Now, I wasn't quite to that point yet. In fact, this car had a problem. After a while, it began missing. It was a V8 engine, and one of those cylinders wasn't firing. I didn't know why, but it ran very rough. I would go to pick my girlfriend up from school and hardly be able to make it up the hill where she lived. So after a few months of struggling with that, I'd had enough. I said, Dad, I got to find out what's wrong with this car. He says, okay, son, here are the wrenches, go to it. I took one spark plug out at a time until I found the one that it didn't matter. The engine ran the same whether that spark plug was out or not. And I knew that was the cylinder that was missing. So I knew which side of the engine I had to take the head off. When I got that off, I found out that the valves inside the cylinder had got bent and broken off and were bouncing around inside. Here's that piston. I still have it. There's a place where the valves were cutting into the piston top. So went down to a used auto place, got a used piston from there, put it into the car, and it ran after that. So I had a running car, but that wasn't good enough for me. In those days, I was in the Navy ROTC program, and every year they would send us off on a summer cruise. And in those summer cruises, we earned money. So I saved up my money, and when I got off that summer cruise, I wanted to make my engine better. So I got a crane. I took that 283 cubic inch engine out, took it down to a shop in downtown Omaha at the time, and they bored out the cylinders to 301 cubic inches, and from them I got high dome racing pistons so that the compression would be higher, and I put in a 3/4 racing cam. I put a Edelbrock intake manifold on top and 3 Stromberg 97 carburetors with linkage so that when you're just pressing on the accelerator a little bit, only one 2-barrel carburetor would open up, but when you floored it, all 3 of them would open up, and you'd get 6 barrels of fuel flowing into the engine. And I had a 2 12-inch glass pack mufflers. So in addition to being strong and fast, it was also loud. Very loud. And I was thrilled with this car. It took me, when I got it back from the shop and began to put it back together, I really thought that I would be able to remember where all the nuts and bolts had come from when I took it out. But by the time I was done getting the new engine back installed in the car, I had a 5-pound coffee can full of nuts and bolts that I never figured out where they went. Springs, levers, a number of things. I never did figure out where they went, but I got that engine running. And after that, I was very, very pleased with that car. It was fast, it was loud, and as a teenager, thrilled with that kind of thing. In the evenings, I would prowl up and down the main drags of town, not hoping for a green light like I do today, but hoping for a red light, because whenever the red light would occur and I would come up to it, race the engine a few times and look at whoever was next to me, and they would race their engine, and then we'd be off. Peeling rubber and seeing whose car was the fastest. That was teenage times. I don't do that anymore. But I'm glad I got the experience of working on a car, because I sure wouldn't try to do that now. This is G. Willikers. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again next time.